Aspirational prayers from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. If possible, the dying person should recite these 3 aspirational prayers with intention longing at the time of death, or the Lama. At the time when it's likely that the dying person's consciousness is dimmed and the dying person may be feeling afraid, it is regarded as crucially important for the dying person to place their confidence in the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and to request the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to be their refuge and guide. Herein is contained the aspirational prayer calling to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for assistance. I bow down to the peaceful and wrathful conquerors. This prayer should be recited at the time of one's own death, or whenever appropriate. First make offerings, both actual and visualized, to the 3 precious jewels. Then, while holding the fragrant incense in one hand, say the following words with fervent intensity. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, abiding in the 10 directions, refuge of living beings, imbued with compassion, imbued with knowledge, imbued with clear vision, and imbued with love, come to this place by the power of your compassion and accept these displayed and visual offerings, O compassionate ones, as you are the fountain of all-knowing, pristine cognition, of love, compassion, of effective activity, and of power to grant refuge beyond conception, to come to this place. O compassionate ones, this human being, say the name, is leaving this world and journeying to another shore. He is being cast off from this world and approaching the great transition of death. Suffering deeply, he is without a friend, without a refuge, without a protector and a companion. His perception of this life is fading away. He is moving on to another world, entering a dense darkness and falling into an unfathomable abyss. Entering the thick forest of doubt, he will be driven on by the potency of past actions. He will be entering a great wilderness, bore away on a great ocean, and driven on by the vital winds of past actions. He will be moving in a direction where there is no firm ground, entering a great battlefield, being seized by great malevolent forces and becoming overwhelmed by fear and terror upon meeting the executors and the unfailing laws of cause and effect. In accord with his past actions, powerless to resist, he may even yet again be entering the realms of rebirth. The time has come when he has no choice but to move on alone, leaving his dear friends behind. O compassionate ones, grant refuge now to this person, say the name, who has no refuge. Protect him, be his companion, defend him from the great darkness of intermediate state. Turn back the great hurricane of past actions, protect him from the great fear and terror of the unfailing laws of cause and effect. Rescue him from the long and dangerous pathways of the intermediate state, O compassionate ones. Be unsparing in your compassion. Grant assistance to him. Do not allow him to be expelled into the 3 kinds of inferior existence. Without wavering from your ancient vows, swiftly release the power of your compassion, O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. For the sake of this person, say the name. Be unsparing in your compassion, skillful means and ability. Seize him with your compassion. Do not allow this sentient being to fall under power of negative past actions. O 3 precious jewels, protect from the sufferings of the intermediate state. This aspirational prayer, calling to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for assistance, should be read aloud with intense devotion 3 times by oneself and by all others present. May its impact not cease until cyclic existence has been emptied. Samaya Ragaya Ragaya Ragaya. Let good auspices prevail. And we continue to one that I really like, which is very beautiful, which is the second out of the 3rd that we have here. Herein is contained the aspirational prayer which rescues from the dangerous pathways of the intermediate state. I bow down to the spiritual teachers, meditational deities, and dekanis. May I be guided on the path by their great love. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated bewilderment, may the spiritual teachers, holder of the oral lineage, draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is undistracted study, reflection, and meditation. May the supreme consorts, the hosts of Dakini, support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of the intermediate state and be escorted to the level of an utterly perfect Buddha. And as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated delusion, may the transcendent Lord Vairocana draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the pristine cognition of reality's expanse. May the supreme consort Akasa Tattvisvare support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of intermediate state, and be escorted to the level of utterly perfect Buddha. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated aversion, may the transcendent Lord Vajrasattva draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the mirror-like pristine cognition. May the supreme consort Buddha Lokana support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of the intermediate state, and be escorted to the level of an utterly perfect Buddha. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by the deep-seated pride, may the transcendent Lord Ratna Sambhava draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the pristine cognition of sameness. May the supreme consort Mamaki support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway in the intermediate state, and be escorted to the level of an utterly perfect Buddha. Oh, was I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated attachment, may the transcendent Lord Amitabha draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the pristine cognition of discernment. May the supreme consort Pandaravasani support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of the intermediate state, and be escorted to the level of an utterly perfect Buddha. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated envy, may the transcendent Lord Amoghasiddhi draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the pristine cognition of accomplishment. May the supreme consort Samayatara support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of the intermediate state, and be escorted to the level and utterly perfect Buddha. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by the 5 virulent poisons, may the transcendent conquerors, the male Buddhas, of the 5 enlightened families draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the 4 pristine cognitions combined. May the 5 supreme female Buddhas, the purity of the expanse, support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the light paths to the 6 impure classes of beings, and be escorted to the 5 utterly supreme and pure Buddha fields. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated habitual tendencies, may the assembly of spiritual heroes and awareness holders draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is the co-emergent pristine cognition. May the supreme consorts of the hosts of Dakini support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of the intermediate state, and be escorted to a level of an utterly perfect Buddha. Oh, as I roam in cyclic existence, driven by deep-seated bewildered perceptions, may the assembly of blood-drinking wrathful deities draw me forward, leading me on the path of radiant light, which is free of fear and terrifying perceptions. May the assembly of Krodeshvari, queens of the expanse, support me from behind, and thus encircled may I be rescued from the fearsome passageway of the intermediate state, and be escorted to the level of an utterly perfect Buddha. May the elements of space not arise as a hostile force. May I see them as the field of the blue Buddha. May the elements of water not arise as a hostile force. May I see them as the field of the white Buddha. May the elements of earth not arise as a hostile force. May I see them as a field of the yellow Buddha. May the elements of fire not arise as a hostile force. May I see them as a field of the red Buddha, Amitabha. May the elements of wind not arise as a hostile force. May I see them as the field of the green Buddha. May the awesome sounds, lights, and rays not arise as hostile force. May I see them as the infinite fields of the peaceful and wrathful deities. May the rainbow-colored elements not rise up as a hostile force. May I see them as the fields of the manifold Buddhas. May I recognize all sounds as my own sounds. May I recognize all lights as my own lights. May I recognize all rays as my own rays. May I spontaneously recognize the characteristics of the intermediate states. May the fields of the three Buddha bodies be manifest. Samaya, Samaya, Samaya. Feel them ever present. The prana energy is very pure and powerful in this moment. The last aspirational prayer. Herein is contained the aspirational prayer which protects from the fear of the intermediate states. When my life's course is ended and I roam alone in the intermediate states, the loved ones of this world can no longer help me. So at this critical time, may the conquerors, the peaceful and wrathful deities, quickly release the power of their compassion, and may the deep darkness of my ignorance be dispelled. When I roam alone, separated from my loved ones, and mirage images of emptiness arise, naturally manifesting, may the Buddhas quickly release the power of their compassion, and may the fear of the awesome and terrifying intermediate state be annulled. When the 5 radiant lights of pristine cognition dawn, may I recognize them as my own nature, without awe and without terror. And as the manifold forms of the peaceful and wrathful deities, may I be fearlessly confident and recognize the characteristics of the intermediate state. When I experience suffering as the result of negative past actions, may the great compassionate one dispel all such misery. And as the natural sound of reality reverberates like 1,000 petals of thunder, may all sounds be heard as the teaching of the great vehicle. When I am driven on by past actions, unable to find refuge, may the meditational deities dispel all such misery, and as I experience the suffering of habitual tendencies and past actions, may the meditative stabilities of inner radiance and bliss naturally arise. When I am miraculously born into the immediate state of rebirth, may I not be beguiled by the perverse prophecies of Mara. And as I freely arrive at every place that I think of, may the bewildered fear and terror generated by my negative past actions not arise. When the roars of savage wild beasts echo round me, may their cries be transformed into the sound of the sacred teachings, the 6 syllables. And as I am engulfed by snow, rain, wind, and darkness, may I achieve the pure clairvoyance of radiant pristine cognition. May sentient beings in the intermediate state, similar in kind to myself, be born into the higher realms, free from rivalry, and as severe dissonant mental states generate insustainable hunger and thirst, may the afflictions of hunger, thirst, heat, and cold be annulled. When I see my future parents in union, may I perceive them as Mahakarunika and consort, and for the sake of others, being blessed with the power to choose a birthplace, may I achieve an exalted body adorned with the auspicious major and minor marks. Once I have achieved birth in a supreme human form, may I act so as to swiftly liberate all who see and hear me, and may I not be influenced by my negative past actions, but multiply and emulate my past merits. Wherever I may be born, in whatever land it may be, may I quickly encounter the meditational deity of my past lives, knowing from immediately after birth how to speak and walk. May I remember my past lives and attain the power of non-forgetfulness. May I easily come to master my study and reflection, the manifold stages of learning, small, intermediate, and great. May the country in which I am born be auspicious, and may all sentient beings be blessed with happiness. O peaceful and wrathful conquerors, may I and all others become entirely at one with you, and come to resemble you in all your forms, your retinues, your lifespan, and your Buddha fields, and in every quality of your supreme auspicious marks. Through the compassion of Samantabhadra and the infinite peaceful and wrathful deities, by the power of the truth of pure reality, and by the blessing of mantrins who practice one-pointedly, May every wish of this aspirational prayer be fulfilled. This prayer, entitled the Aspirational Prayer, which protects from fear of the intermediate state, was composed by the preceptor from Udayana Padmakara. May this profound sacred teaching not be extinguished until all worlds of cyclic existence have been emptied. Samaya Ragya Ragya Ragya. This is a treasure text of Tulku Karma Limpa. Much love. I hope you guys like this video. Death is like taking off a tight shoe. It's completely safe. I know this. I wish you an upbeat dying. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.